While COVID-19 has put many people's jobs on hold, the Vancouver police continue to work around the clock. In some ways, they're even busier than usual. But the city just decided to cut the VPD's budget, and the police chief is not happy.
We weren't part of that motion, so we didn't see it coming. We had no heads up on it. Part A would be about $3.1 million, and Part B, that part we're still trying to determine exactly what it means, because there's a lack of clarity in that motion because it has to do with collective bargaining, and that's a bit of a moving target depending what an arbitrator would decide on arbitration. That's really out of our hands. But anytime you're cutting millions of dollars from the police department, it will impact staff. The vast majority of our budget is in wages and salary. So when we're talking about cutting millions of dollars, we're talking about people. We lose about 50 people a year roughly just through regular attrition, and this would impact our ability to recruit and keep the ranks full at the VPD. There's a lot of things going on right now. It's a super busy time. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Calls for service, the emergency calls have not decreased. We're dealing with serious crime issues, such as commercial break-and enters that you've seen, that your news station has covered, anti-Asian racism, which is very disturbing, knife point robberies, an increase in arsons that we reported on today, and all the other things going on in the city, such as the Oppenheimer Park decampment. Earlier in the year, we had the pipeline protests, and we anticipate those will start up again for TMX and CGL as well, once how the whole pandemic plays out. We know that the protests are not coming to an end. So there's lots of stuff going on right now in the city. Super busy time. We're dealing with staffing levels where we just got back to 2009 staffing levels. So to be cutting the police department and going backwards at this time just does not make sense for public safety in the city. So when we're talking about specific things like collective bargaining or HR issues, specifically about personnel, of course there are provisions for that to be in camera. Where I take issue is when we're talking about general cutbacks to the police department, to public safety in Vancouver. Those are things that should be done in a fair and open democracy in public, so that we can see the debate, we can see the questions, we can see how councillors vote, and it is in the public eye. So I think that part needs to be front and center. It shouldn't be done in camera and then dropped on the police department as a surprise. That should have been a process that I was involved in. There were written submissions made to the city by the board about a month ago. However, this motion coming up in council, we had no heads up on it, and I was not invited to present to council or provide any subject matter expertise to them to help them make an informed decision. I talk to the mayor all the time. I did talk to him today. I'll say the relationship between him and I is fine. Like there's no drama there. So I think sometimes people are trying to make something out of nothing there. My issue is not with the mayor. My issue is with the whole process as it proceeded at City Council. So we do have a board meeting next week. So we will be bringing it up with the board. That is who my boss is. Like I don't take direction from City Council or the city manager or anybody like that. I report directly to a board. So our board has been very supportive, and our board has told the city that they don't support any cutbacks to the police department. So I'll be discussing that with my board, and the board will then determine next steps in consultation with me.